Just wanted to quickly show you the tension, or the torque, whatever you might call it, that's been applied to this bolt. I haven't actually touched this thing yet. This bolt runs through this sprocket, through that plate, through all the bearings inside, and through the little bar on the back here that makes up the drive clutch. I've seen a few posts lately on the Restoration's Facebook page where guys haven't been able, they've just got their machines back together and they're rolling forwards alright, but they're not able to roll backwards. And the suggestion's often been that this bolt's been done up too tightly, so just having a careful look at that, because it is remarkably loose. Like there's heaps of play in there, which is interesting. But now that I've loosened that clutch off, if I give that a pull, as soon as I pull on that, it really does firm that up, and that's when things are really driving anyway. So can't move it now. If I let it off, it moves around all sorts. Alright, we're around behind the machine again. I've got my handlebars still tethered to the machine by this clutch cable, so I want to get it off just so I can get the handlebars out of the way and start freeing up this machine a little bit. So you can see the cable housing. There's the cable in there which terminates with the little T thing on the end there. If I give it a squeeze, you can see how that pulls on that cable and sort of leverages that little bar outwards from the cogs over here. And there's the two cogs there. You probably can't really see it on the video, but there's a little bit of cork sandwiched between that outer cog and that inner plate. And when they're tight, that transmits the drive energy down to the rear roller, and everything moves forward. So we've got two little lock nuts on here together. I'm just going to start by taking them back a touch. I'm just using my 11mm spanner again here, and I don't really want to lose my reference point on that, so once that's sort of eased off, I'm just going to put it back sort of roughly how it was. And then you can see the barrel of the housing has a little faceted piece on the end here, so you can use a spanner around that if you need to. That one doesn't fit, smaller one obviously, but this one's loose enough, and that just unthreads slowly but surely. It's quite a long thread from this thing here. So if I keep unwinding that any further, it's just going to keep getting tighter and tighter. So what I'll need to do next before I can proceed down at this end is disconnect the clutch cable from the clutch lever. Just up the top of the handlebars here, just wanted to show you the lever that controls the drive clutch. And the reason I'm up here right now is because I want to free up the cable that comes in here. You can see there's a couple of little circlips and posts that hold everything together. Don't need to worry about this one yet, that's just the pivot point for the actual lever, but this one holds the little end of the cable. What I'm going to do is try and get that little clip off with a flat screwdriver, get the post out, and then that cable should slip out through there and give me enough free cable down this end to disconnect that guy. I've just got my little flat blade screwdriver here, and I'm going to try and pop the little circlip off of there. Circlip that's holding that shaft in place without losing an eye of the clip itself, and that was actually remarkably easy. So that just sits over top of that little post. Slides on out. That's what that looks like. It's that little clip. There's a little groove on the end of that, and that clip goes around that and holds everything in place. And with that out of the way, you probably can't see it, but the end of the cable itself has a little sort of O-shaped contraption that holds everything on there when it's in place. So we'll see if that's given me enough slack down the bottom end now. Alright, so I can already see that spring sort of loosened up quite a bit. And I can see now that as I unscrew this housing from here, the spring's not really compressing, so that should all free up in just a second, and then we can slip that up there. Just lock those two nuts back together so we have a rough point of reference. Next up, I'm going to try and get this front roller adjuster, the height adjuster, and the handle off of there. It's pretty tight. Not sure how much of that you can see, but you've got the handle up the top. There's the little L bracket that holds it all on the side of the case, the side of the machine. There's a little spring, a washer, and a circlip that clips onto the bottom of that handle. The handle is then threaded onto this L-shaped elbow doodad that rides up and down in this elongated hole. So what I'm trying to do is just get that clip out the bottom, just by giving it a bit of a nudge and then prying it out the other side, hopefully. At least that's my plan. The spring's sort of holding it in place. There you go, so that's the little clip that comes out of there. Hopefully you can see that. And that little bottom washer can be a bit of a bear to get off at times. This one's all bent and nasty as well, just for good measure. Let's see if we can just wobble it around somehow. Basically, once you've got that circlip off, the handle itself, as you can sort of see, just unthreads from that post. So I'll just keep backing that out. Probably going to replace this handle. I kind of have a soft spot for these original handles, but the new ones look so damn good. So I'll just keep spinning that out all the way. Probably could have used a little bit of oil on there just to make it a bit smoother. This one looks like it's seen better days. It's a bit worn and there we go. So you can see how that shaft just goes all the way up inside this thing, hopefully. And there's our spring and our washer. So we won't be able to take them out yet until we loosen the nut off the back side of that and start taking out the front roller. Another quick little job to do is get rid of this little bumper that supports the catcher, and that just pops off that little post. Again, I just wanted to try and start loosening up this L-shaped bolt that holds the front roller height adjuster on. Put a 15 mil spanner on this guy. I don't know if you can really see, there's 2 bolts that run through this bottom bracket. There's the height adjuster itself, and then the cradle pivots on the bolt that goes in from either side there. I think this one is actually too tight because it was really jamming up before when I was trying to let off the razor, lower the cutting height. There we go. And there comes the elbow, little flange on the end of it. Got the washer and the spring for the height adjuster handle. Usually there's a little clip that fits in there as well, without taking it out already. So again, just working top down, continuing on. I'm going to try and get rid of the little handle for the clutch here. What's holding this in place, the shaft of the handle runs through this little yoke, or whatever you want to call it, and there's a little split pin holding it, little split pin and a washer, I guess, holding it all together. So that split pin gets put through that hole, and then it gets opened up around that shaft so it doesn't fall out. So just need to make it straight again. It's pretty soft, and give it a little pull, and that comes out like so. Little washer on there. Take the washer off, and then that handle comes out. I'm just supporting this because I've still got the spring in place down the bottom that applies a bit of pressure against the clutch. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is take out this little yoke. There's a couple of little thingies that hold a little post, little shaft in place there, so they're just little clampy doodads. They're quite thin, but they put a little bit of coercion. And get the one off, just like so. You can see what that looks like. And that post then slides out, releases our spring and the yoke itself. Put that back together for now. And that guy just goes back on there like that. Now we have access to these screws. On the solid deck, this bit comes off. On the twin, it's welded on so it doesn't come off. There's a couple bolts that hold this on underneath, but I'm going to try and get these things loosened up without getting a span under there. I think that might just do it. No doubt we'll get 2 out of 3, and the other one will just spin, but whatever. So with the engine off and out of the way, we can have a closer look at where it's been sitting on the deck here. It's a solid deck machine versus a twin rail, so in theory it should be a little bit more stout than the twin. Won't be able to really see what's going on underneath that paint until it's all been removed, but it looks alright so far. Just looking for any cracking around the bolt holes, down the sides of the deck itself. And once it comes off, I'll have a closer look and have a peep underneath and see what's going on under there. With my twin rail in particular, I didn't actually realize it was cracked until all the paint was removed, and you could then see the little stress fractures sort of growing in the middle. On the twins, you'll see the cracks sort of, when they're really bad, they'll run down the front lips of the rail or the deck, and they'll widen up to the point where they're not just little stress fractures, they're actual cracks. Obviously the motor is either stuck to the paint when it was not fully cured or knocked around on there a bit, but obviously that's bare metal under there, so it's been scratched up somehow, and it's not too pretty. So we'll try and avoid any of that nonsense when we put it back together.